I wholeheartedly believe and know, beyond a shadow of a doubt, we are saved by grace through faith. It is the gift of God. Nothing we can do can earn our salvation. But the thing is, it's not grace without obedience. It's grace and then obedience. And it's not a New Testament concept. As I like to say, obedience is not the root of my salvation. Obedience is the fruit of my salvation. And remember in Matthew, we just got done right before he said the whole passage about I never knew them. Literally right before that, he talks about good fruit and bad fruit. Therefore, by their fruits you will know them. Fruits are always equated to obedience to his commandments. Now, this idea of grace and then obedience is not a New Testament concept. Did you know that? It's all throughout Scripture from Genesis to Revelation. This is the blueprint of God. Remember what Jesus said one time when he said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No man comes to the Father except by me. It's always been that way. Faith in the Messiah, faith in God, and then obedience to his commandments. God does not change. Do you remember Mount Sinai at the giving of the 10 Commandments? Did you know that grace and then obedience was there? Now, remember the thing with the Exodus. Did you know that all of the Exodus, the plagues in Egypt, the crossing of the Red Sea, the giving of the 10 Commandments, the wilderness, it's all a picture of salvation. Remember, in the Exodus, they were slaves in Egypt, which is always equated to sin. They were slaves to sin. But then there was a lamb. Remember the last plague? You'll take the blood of the lamb and it will save you from the angel of death. All were saved by the blood of the lamb. And then they crossed through the Red Sea. They were baptized by God, so to speak. And then after they were saved by grace of God, they were given his commandments to live as people of God. We'll get into that a little deeper at the end of this video. But I want to read something for you from Exodus chapter 20. Exodus chapter 20, let's read verses 1 through 17. And God spoke all these words, saying, I am the Lord your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. So he just right there. Let's pause for a second. It says, I am your God. I brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of Egypt's equated to sin, out of the house of bondage. What does he say directly after that? Starting in verse 3. You shall have no other gods before me. You shall not make for yourself a carved image, any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. You shall not bow down to them nor serve them, for I am the Lord your God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children to the third and fourth generation of those who hate me, but showing mercy to thousands to those who love me and keep my commandments. Does that sound familiar? You shall not take the name of the Lord your God in vain, for the Lord will not hold him guiltless who takes his name in vain. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days you shall labor and do all your work, but the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord your God. In it you shall do no work. You, nor your son, nor your daughter, nor your male servant, nor your female servant, nor your cattle, nor the stranger who is within your gates. For in 6 days the Lord made the heavens and the earth, the sea and all that is in them, and rested the seventh day. Therefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it. Honor your father and your mother, that your days may be long upon the land which the Lord your God is giving you. You shall not murder. You shall not commit adultery. You shall not steal. You shall not bear false witness against your neighbor. You shall not covet your neighbor's house. You shall not covet your neighbor's wife, nor his male servant, nor his female servant, nor his ox, nor his donkey, nor anything that is your neighbor's. So again, we all remember the 10 Commandments from Sunday school. But I'll be honest, I never noticed that part in verse 2. I am the Lord your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. In other words, grace, because I showed you grace, because I gave you salvation. Now obey me. Grace, then obedience. There's a scary thing. The entire wilderness experience, is a prophetic picture of the Christian walk. And if you remember with the 10 spies, well, the 12 spies, there was the 10 that gave a bad report, and then there was the 2 that gave a good report, Joshua and Caleb. And of all the people that came out of Egypt, that were saved by grace through the blood of the Lamb, that passed through the Red Sea, that heard the thunderings and the voice of God, and was given the Torah, the commandments of God on Mount Sinai. Out of all the people that experienced all of that, only 2 people from that generation made it into the kingdom. The rest of them died in the wilderness because of unbelief, because of disobedience. Joshua and Caleb, who were faithful to God, made it into the kingdom. You know, another scary aspect of the end days is the Bible talks about there's going to be a great falling away in the end times. A great falling away. It's not minor. And you think when it comes to the 12 spies, 10 out of the 12 died in the wilderness. 10 out of the 12 lost their faith and didn't make it in the kingdom. That's a scary thought. That should cause us to pay attention. Disobedience, unbelief, kept them out of the kingdom. They actually talk about this in the book of Hebrews. Hebrews chapter 3, verses 16 through 19. For who, having heard, rebelled? Indeed, was it not all who came out of Egypt led by Moses? And remember, Moses is also an archetype of the Messiah, of Jesus. For who, having heard, rebelled? Indeed, was it not all who came out of Egypt led by Moses? Now with whom was he angry 40 years? Was it not with those who sinned, whose corpses fell in the wilderness? And to whom did he swear that they would not enter his rest, but to those who did not obey? So we see that they could not enter in because of unbelief. Again, unbelief and disobedience are used almost synonymously. Because of disobedience, because of unbelief, they did not make it in the kingdom. But let's also look at chapter 4 of the book of Hebrews, verses 1 through 4. Therefore, since a promise remains of entering his rest, let us fear lest any of you seem to have come short of it. For indeed the gospel was preached to us as well as to them, but the word which they heard did not profit them, not being mixed with faith in those who heard it. Did you catch that? The word which they heard did not profit them, not being mixed with faith in those who heard it. Verse 3. For we who have believed do enter that rest, as he has said, so I swore in my wrath, they shall not enter my rest, although the works were finished from the foundation of the world. For he has spoken in a certain place of the 7th day in this way, and God rested on the 7th day from all his works. You have to take your obedience, it has to be tied to faith. If you don't believe in Jesus the Messiah, if you don't obey him, you have to have those 2 witnesses. That's just scripture. Remember, I don't obey to be saved. I obey because I'm saved. Because God showed me grace, I obey him. Fruit, not root. Grace, then obedience. Think about Noah. Let's read about him in Genesis. Genesis chapter 6, verses 8 and 9. But Noah found grace in the eyes of the Lord. There's grace. This is the genealogy of Noah. Noah was a just man, perfect in his generations. Noah walked with God. Now, if you do a little bit of a study on what it means to walk with God all throughout Scripture, you'll see it's always tied to obedience, to following his commandments. Noah found grace, and Noah obeyed. Fruit, not root. Grace, then obedience. Love, then law. Jesus talks about that. John chapter 14, verse 15. If you love me, keep my commandments. Jesus said that. What about John chapter 14, verse 21? He who has my commandments and keeps them, he who has my commandments and keeps them, it is he who loves me. And he who loves me will be loved by my Father, and I will love him and manifest myself to him. The Apostle John even talks about this. 1 John chapter 2, verse 5. But whoever keeps his word, truly the love of God is perfected in him. By this we know that we are in him. Love, then law. This whole idea of if you love me, keep my commandments. I wish I could read all the passages from Genesis to Revelation where this concept is talked about over and over and over again, but we'd be here quite a while. I don't have time to go through all of these verses about if you love me, keep my commandments, but check the description box and we'll make sure to put that list in there and you can just check it out for yourself. Let's look at this in another way. God is our king. The kingdom of heaven. A kingdom has laws. How do you know a kingdom's citizens? They abide by those laws. What happens if you break those laws? There's punishment. If you break the law, you're lawless. If you keep the law, you're a good citizen. Think about America. We have the Constitution and all these things. If you break the law, you're under the punishment of the law. Now, there's this beautiful idea that someone once shared. Let's say you get a speeding ticket. You go to court. There's a fine. Let's say somebody comes in to the courtroom and says, I want to pay your fine. I want to pay your debt. That's grace. Now, because this person comes in and pays your speeding ticket, are you now allowed to go out and speed without any repercussions? Or is doing that spitting on the grace you just received? That person came and paid the penalty for your speeding ticket. And now you're expected to go out and be a law-abiding citizen. That's the gospel. Jesus came and paid the debt for our sin, for our lawlessness. He took the punishment for our sin to redeem us. And remember the 10 Commandments, because I showed you grace. Obey me. A kingdom has laws. We're expected to obey the law of the king we serve. That's how you know. Hey guys, thank you so much for watching. Please make sure to like this video, share it with a friend, and subscribe to the channel so you can stay up to date on all of our latest content. And make sure to stay tuned for next week's episode. Remember, faith and obedience. Shalom.